Welcome everyone. Today we're walking through 4 of the most important viral diseases in swine medicine: PRRSV, PEDV, swine influenza, and PCV2. Together, these 4 drive a huge share of the health problems and economic losses on pig farms around the world. My goal today isn't to turn you into experts in one sitting. It's to give you a solid foundation so you can recognize each disease, understand how it spreads, and know why it matters in practice. Let's dive in. We go deep on each one. Let's get the big picture. 3 of our 4 viruses, PRRSV, PEDV, and swine influenza, are RNA viruses. The 4th, PCV2, is a DNA virus, and that difference actually changes how it behaves. Notice that each one targets a different system. PRRSV hits reproduction in the lungs. PEDV attacks the gut. Swine influenza is respiratory, and PCV2 causes wasting and weakens the immune system. Keep this simple map in your head because we'll come right back to it at the end. Let's start with PRRSV, sometimes called blue ear disease. It's an RNA virus, and it's often considered the single most costly disease in swine production. It spreads through infected pigs and, importantly, through contaminated semen. So artificial insemination is a real route of transmission. In sows, you'll see late-term abortions, stillbirths, and weak piglets. In growing pigs, it's respiratory disease, and it suppresses the immune system, which opens a door to secondary infections. We diagnose it with ELISA and PCR, and we sequence the ORF5 gene to track specific strains. There's no cure, and vaccines only protect partially, so biosecurity and acclimatizing your replacement gilts are key. Is PEDV a coronavirus? If you remember just one thing here, make it this. In newborn piglets with no immunity, mortality approaches 100%. It spreads fecally orally, very often through contaminated feed, and it can even travel on the wind for several miles. Clinically, it's dramatic: sudden watery diarrhea, vomiting, and rapid dehydration, because the virus strips the lining of the small intestine. We confirm it with PCR and feces or intestinal tissue. There's no specific treatment, so strict biosecurity and feed safety are everything. And vaccines are limited because the virus keeps changing its spike protein. Influenza is our 3rd RNA virus, and this one will feel familiar because it's a flu. The common subtypes are H1N1, H1N2, and H3N2, and the virus loves to reassort and swap genes. It spreads through coughing, close contact, and shared equipment. Here's a key point. Pigs and people can pass it back and forth, so it's zoonotic. The signs come on fast: fever, a loud barking cough, runny nose and eyes, and pigs that go off their feed. The good news is that while almost the whole barn can get sick, very few pigs actually die. The real cost is slower growth and extra days to market. Vaccines and good biosecurity help keep it in check. Finally, PCV2, and this is our one DNA virus. That matters because its small, tough DNA makes it extremely hardy in the environment. It spreads mainly nose to nose through saliva and nasal secretions. The classic picture is wasting: pigs that lose weight, look pale, and breathe hard, usually in the nursery and early grow-out phase. Like PRRSV, it suppresses the immune system, so secondary infections pile on. We diagnose it by combining clinical signs, tissue changes under the microscope, and detecting the virus right in those lesions. And here's the great news: vaccination works really well, and it has dramatically reduced this disease. Why do we care this much? 2 reasons: money and animal welfare. PRRSV alone costs the U.S. industry an estimated $664 million a year, roughly $4 to $5 for every pig sold. PEDV wiped out more than 10% of the entire U.S. pig population in a single season back in 2013 and 2014. Swine influenza can sicken nearly a whole herd, quietly draining profits through slower growth. And PCV2 PCV2, before vaccines came along, killed up to 1 in 5 affected pigs. These aren't abstract numbers. They're exactly why prevention pays for itself. Pull the practical pieces together. On the diagnostic side, PCR is our workhorse for catching the virus's genome. ELISA tells us about herd exposure, histopathology confirms the tissue damage, and sequencing lets us track strains during an outbreak. On the control side, it all starts with a healthy herd and a written plan. Limit and clean up anything moving onto the farm, people, vehicles, and equipment. Isolate new arrivals, vaccinate where it works, and watch your feed closely for PEDV. The through line for all 4 viruses is the same. Solid biosecurity stops both introduction and spread. Let's wrap up with 5 things to carry with you. 1. 4 viruses, 4 body systems: reproductive and respiratory, enteric, respiratory, and multisystemic. 2. There are RNA viruses and 1 PCV2 is DNA, which makes it especially tough in the environment. 3. Newborn piglets are the most vulnerable, and PEDV and PRRSV hit them the hardest. 4. Vaccines help, most for PCV2 and only partially for the others, but they never replace biosecurity. And 5. Early diagnosis is what turns knowledge into action and limits the spread. Master these foundations, and you're well on your way. If this helped, like and subscribe. Thanks, and I'll see you next time.